Yeah,
Huge.
so clearly more on that to come right now. Nice enough to join us, our fantasy football expert from The Athletic, footballscientist.com, Kaycee Joyner. How are you today, Kaycee? Did we lose Kaycee already? Hello, Kaycee. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Right.
Can you hear me, Kaycee?
I can. Looking forward to a great game tonight.
Yeah. Hey, what advice do you have for, if any, for Christian McCaffrey owners right now, Kaycee?
Well, first off, I always tell fantasy managers, you need to get insurance on your players.
Yeah.
Don't go getting a player. Don't go getting insurance on somebody else's player. Don't get other backups. Get your guys, because it's like buying insurance on somebody else's house. Why would you do that? You buy it on your own house. So you ought to have Jordan Mason already. It looks like he's going to play this week. So, I mean, you got to play him if he's there. And but the thing is, if you're the Niners, my bigger concern is if he does play, Mason looks so good last week. If you're the Niners, do you go, hey, maybe we shouldn't be giving him all these touches. Maybe we should take a little bit away from him. And if he goes from moving a bell cow to a lead alternate, which is what I call it, that could hinder McCaffrey's production all season long.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Hey, Kaycee, what about my boy Brandon Ayuk? Had a rough game one. I got him on my fantasy team. Right now, he's my third wide receiver. I didn't even start him last week, and I'm glad I did. What's the projections for Brandon Ayuk this week?
Yeah, I'm looking. The thing is, I mean, they made it clear before, and Kyle Shanahan made it clear that we're going to get him in the game plan, but we're not going to utilize as much as we could, just because because of all that happened with the contract and all. Plus, you had that horrible matchup. I mean, the Jets had two great cornerbacks. I mean, as good as Sauce Gardner is, Reed is a really good cornerback. So I'm kind of putting that last week off and saying, okay, that's not really very as bad of a. I don't think it's going to be indicative of where he is. I've got him ranked 19th on my wide receiver charts. Would definitely get him in lineups.
Kaycee Joyner with us, of course, fantasy expert, The Athletic, and the footballscientist.com. Who would get the Soggy Sandwich Award, Kaycee, for most disappointing fantasy player of week one in the NFL? The Soggy Sandwich goes to...
I'm going to have to say, got to get a lot of candidates. I would probably pick Kyler Murray because I expected big things out of him. I expect him to be in fact, a lot of people did. He was producing numbers at a top 5 pace in some categories late last year. Last year, it didn't happen at all. In fact, he was 0 for 7 on vertical passes. That's passes traveling 10 or more yards downfield. He was dead last in the league in that category in the first 2 years. I thought Marvin Harrison, it's going to be a big change. I wrote an article about it for the Athletic this week, thinking Marvin Harrison's going to have a tough problem this year because Murray is one of the worst vertical passers in the league. Harrison hasn't corrected it. I think it's going to be a longer season of those than ever expected.
But that's not his job, right? That's what Kyler says. It's not my job.
Yeah, that's the thing. What is it? Dr. Z said years ago, I got to say this in a nicer way. He said a quarterback's got to be able to tell off his coach every once in a while before it comes into his own. If the coach is calling for a bunch of dink and duck passes and Marvin Harrison, maybe just throw it to him and say, hey, coach, he was open. But when you're 0 for 7, he was called for you to throw 7 times. You didn't complete one of them. And it's like, and you look at the reasons for the incompletion, it's a bunch of different ones. Like, hey, dude, stop the excuses. You got to hit some of these passes.
Yes.
Hey, Kaycee, we've seen some guys get banged up in week one, talking about the quarterback position. Jordan Love with Green Bay. Joe Burrow still looks a little shaky out there. How does that impact the wide receiver group from both those teams?
Yeah, with Burrow, it's going to – remember, he's got now a track record of injury history. He's facing Kansas City, a really tough defense. He's got, by the way, if you look at this, I've got this metric called schedule points. It measures a schedule strength with 1 to 100 bases, 1 being low. The Bengals have like one of the worst, the toughest schedule strength all season long coming into the season. Hasn't gotten any better. So I think it's going to be a really disappointing season for Burrow. And again, Higgins is still banged up. And if you just have Chase, and Chase is kind of maxes into the contract, if you just have Chase, I think it's going to be a long season for everybody there. As far as Green Bay receivers go, I mean, I'd play long on them because it looks like they'll be back in a few weeks. And if you're a Jaden Reed owner, just sit in and keep your roster because when Love gets back, you'll be in good shape. But really like, I hate to say it from a quarterback perspective, helps out running backs. Josh Jacobs got a really good matchup this week. He'll carry the ball 25 times.
Kaycee Joyner with us, fantasy football guru. Looking at the matchups this week, Kaycee, a lot of fantasy experts are touting Malik Neighbors, wide out with the Giants, of course, and I think he's a little banged up.
Yeah.
But he plays for the Giants. So, I mean, is he a good play?
The Commanders' secondary is terrible. They're the reason that Baker Mayfield's got some good receivers too. Baker Mayfield throws for 289 and 4 touchdowns last week. I think that the Giants will have a lot more success. I've got neighbors having a 95 matchup points total, and he's 22nd on my board. What I'm telling people, though, as far as the Giants go, if you want to get some shares in that offense for this week, if you're in the deeper league, especially Wan'Dale Robinson, he did well last week. He caught some passes, and he looks like he's the number 2 receiver in that offense. And if you're in a deeper league, get him because he could be a 100-target guy this year, and you want that kind of depth in your roster.
That's good stuff. That's good tip.
Yeah,
right there.
I know, right? Dude, I'm in 3 leagues, Kaycee, and I'm listening to everything you say.
Did you win any games?
Yeah, come on,
Okay.
big fella.
I know
You know, I'm
lost
always,
one.
we're winners over here. I definitely won one, at least one, no doubt about it. Kaycee is my boy Saquon. Is he, the number 1 fantasy stud you think this year? Is he this year's CMC?
Yeah, I did a deep dive of the Eagles' run game in week 1. And it's all just basic inside zone running plays. And that was great to do on that field, what you needed to do because of a skating rink on that field. He's capable of doing all kinds of other things. And by the way, the Eagles brought in Kellen Moore to be the offensive coordinator. I don't think it is because, he's going to throw the ball. I remember McCarthy was saying, all he does is throw. He won't ever run the ball. I think they brought him in to be a creative run play caller because he's one of the most creative run play callers in the league. That's why they ran the ball 35-plus times last week. I think he does lead the league in scrimmage yards this year. I think he gets 1,500 plus.
Kaycee, as you well know, it's your business. Passing yards, passing touchdowns down in week 1. What's the most reasonable explanation? I know it is only week 1, preseason rust, whatever. Why do you think the numbers were so depressed this week?
I think the numbers are so depressed for a variety of reasons. We got to switch over in quarterback play right now. I mean, Allen doesn't have. Let's just look at a couple things. Allen doesn't have a very good receiving core anymore. Lamar Jackson, they're going to go more run heavy. Anthony Richardson's a run heavy quarterback. Burrow's got the issues. With banged up receivers. Caleb Williams, he's a rookie. He's going to take some time to develop. You just keep going through this. All you have to do is get enough of these players, and it's, hey, we're in a transition time.
Yes,
I think that's going to be where we are, and I think the league has been going. If you look at like personnel groups and things, the league has been going more. Okay, we need to run the ball more. We need to, run the darn ball more often. I think that's what the league has been going to, and I think this is just a continuing trend of that.
Hey, Kaycee, the leading scorer in the NFL is Jake Moody after that 6 field goal performance. How valuable is Moody? Can he continue, not 6 a week, but is he going to be among the league leaders when it comes to kicking? Or because the Niners offense is so good and usually they like to score touchdowns, his value maybe not as high?
As a Michigan man, I am very happy to see Jake Moody do as well as he's doing.
There you go.
I've got Moody second on my kicker list this week. He's only one of what I call a blue-rated kicker or blue-rated players in the position. He's second only to Brandon Aubrey in that category. He's showing some distance. Michigan didn't ask him to kick a lot of long field goals. I think it might have something to do with the field and such that they say, we're not really going to have you kick the long-distance ones. But to see him kick that, that's the big difference. In fact, if you look at kickers, long-distance field goals are the difference maker between kickers. Everybody else in the league, if you're talking short-distance field goals and PATs, everybody's excellent on those things. You got to be a great long-distance kicker, a great fantasy kicker, and he is.
Yeah, 50 is the new 40 when it comes to kicking field goals, right, Kaycee?
You got it. That's a great way to put it. Yep, you've got to be able to hit those. If you can't, then you got to be really good at 40-plus and 50-plus. It's big difference makers, and the great ones can. And if you can't, then your team's going to be looking for another kicker.
Kaycee Joyner, he's the best. Check him out in The Athletic, thefootballscientist.com, and, of course, right here with the Drive Guys. Thanks, Kaycee. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good. I appreciate it.
Yeah, right, when we come back, we got our punishing pigskin picks, and we've got the latest on Sac State potentially joining the Pac-12 next with the Drive Guys, Sactown Sports.
I didn't ask to be thrown in the streets with nowhere to go.